Hey, everybody. A few things before we jump in. Hit the subscribe button, follow all the socials, check out the website, jimmotes.com. Click on the Building and Becoming link in the YouTube. You're familiar with the YouTube links? Okay. So click on the Building and Becoming link in the YouTube links, the show notes, Instagram and Facebook bios. So there's a 7-day free trial for folks. You know I'm doing that, Mike? Be aware.
Yeah, I'm trying to get people to check you out.
7 days, free, no obligation. A ton of amazing content in the school community in addition to the Zooms. There's the text thread. There's meal plans, training plans, you name it. If you want to grow, check us out. Other than that, what else have I done? I've written some books. We're going to probably dive into some of that kind of stuff going on. So, yeah, a lot happening. It's easy to figure that all out. Follow me on social and help us out on YouTube. Subscribe. We're diving into a brand new episode. You haven't been around in a while. What episode are we on?
58.
58. 69. So you're only 11 off. You're only a few months off. So let's dive into episode 69 of the Ministry of Freedom show. Mike Collins is back in the house. Been a while. A little bit, huh? Seems like it's been God, it's got to be 4 episodes or more. I don't know what you've been doing, what you got going on.
I don't know. World travel.
Yeah, so you're back.
Yep.
Life's good. As we were discussing before we hit record, you can't even spend all the money you're blessed to be making, and the government's taking it easy on you, and taxes are no burden, and everything's just bliss in the world of business.
Yeah. Taxes are not fun.
And Trump's fixed it all. It's only taken a week and a half, and everything's great, right?
I believe my eggs are cheaper.
Yep, that's exactly
They
right.
keep saying they're not, but they are.
Yeah. So I went and got a massage today. I do that every few weeks. And I love my massage gal. Shout out Kelly. She says, hey, it hasn't happened in a while, but starting March 1st, we're going to raise prices to, such and such. And I said, okay, no problem. She goes, well, we got to try to keep up with the price of eggs. I'm like, yeah, it's always about the eggs, right? Yeah. So
I went from buying 18 eggs to buying 12. That's actually less money.
It is. I have bought the same amount of eggs, but I buy the extra large eggs.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not made of money like you.
So that's exactly
Government
right. That's right.
Government got me again, guys.
That's it. Yep. You know me, made of money. Can't spend it. Can't spend it all. Can't keep up. So yeah, we got a studio now. We got walls. Like Les Nessman.
Yep.
Which is a reference that went over Allie's head, and she stared at me like I was on fire.
My wife didn't know who the Fonz was.
The Fonz.
I had to break it down into Waterboy terms to explain to her who Henry Winkler was.
Dang, dude.
And she did not know anything about Fonzie.
Well, we're with young women. I mean, that's just, there's some advantages.
There are.
But they ain't going to know Les Nessman and the Fonz.
No.
If you can get past that.
Yes.
Yeah, we do okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just have no outline for today. No, nothing. I just wanted to hang out with you and talk about stuff and have you drop things on me that I have no idea what you're going to say. Now, for the audience to know, Mike normally shows up with Pepsi or a Mountain Dew or something and nothing else. Today he walks in with freaking, what is that, water? No, what's in it?
Vodka.
So vodka cran and a laptop.
It actually is water with Crystal Light.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But I did bring a laptop.
Yeah, which is
so today I'm going to interview you.
Oh my!
And Jim has no idea
Bro.
what I wrote down. I never write down anything. I come in, I spitball, I freelance, I freeball. Today,
so he's freelancing. He also slipped with the term free ball.
I'm not.
I don't know if that's happening or not.
Freeballing today. I'm not freelancing today.
All right.
I'm fully supported today.
All right. So I'm ready to go into some questions. Are these all really like okay on the level questions, or are you going to blindside me?
Yeah. I would say, just some stuff about Jim Motes.
All right, go.
All right. Well, first off, just lighthearted, not in the computer.
Go.
Chiefs, 3-peat or no?
All right. So here's my feeling on this. I have a wonderful statistic for you. I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but you'll get the gist of it. So first, to answer your question, guaranteed 3-peat.
Okay.
This is, if I was a gambling guy, and I'm not, I'll buy some lotto once in a while, but I don't do the sports gambling and stuff because it takes away the purity of the game and that whole thing for me. I would, if I owned a farm, bet it.
Wow.
They will win. and it's probably going to be they'll beat them by 10.
Okay.
So that's my prediction. Now, here's the craziest stat you're going to hear. They've been keeping this stat for decades now. I don't know what they call it, but the gist of it is this. In the playoffs and Super Bowl, so all postseason games, if a quarterback, if his team has the ball with 2 minutes to go or less to go down and they're behind, so they have the ball at the end of the game and they're behind, the percentage of times they go down and tie it or take the lead is like 40%.
Okay.
All right, which seems reasonable. And the person that was leading this statistic, if you take Mahomes out, and we'll get to him, is Tom Brady. Now, that seems reasonable, right?
Yep.
And it's happened in his postseason career because he played with a lead a lot.
Yep.
So I think it happened to him like 9 times or something. And then 46% of those, and maybe 49% of those, he ended up coming back and either tying the game and winning it. Okay. Now, Mahomes, first off, he's been behind in every Super Bowl that he's in the fourth quarter that he's ever played in.
Okay.
Now, the Super Bowl that they lost, he didn't have the ball at the end. So this stat doesn't pertain to that because remember, the offense needs to have the ball with a chance. In the postseason games where he's been in that situation, 2 minutes or less to go down and tie or win the ball game in the playoffs, he's been in that situation 11 times. And the guy, I was watching Get Up on ESPN, and the dude was like, before, I can't even hardly spit this out. He says, this is the craziest statistic I've ever seen. I've been doing this 40 years. I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. What is it? Do you know how many times out of 11 times Mahomes did it?
11?
11. 100% of the time, if he has the ball with 2 minutes left in the game and he's behind, he goes and ties it or wins it.
That's great.
Yeah. So they'll win.
Okay. Well, I thought this whole year they had a lot of that going on during the regular season.
They did. They
behind.
Yeah, and they won them all.
Yeah, won them all. But I did not think they weren't high scoring this year.
Yeah.
Like I actually thought coming to the playoffs, I thought the Bills were the end of the line, buddy. I did.
No.
I mean, obviously I was hoping against it, but their season did not seem like they were that great a team. And the postseason they are. So
I will say this. They don't have the best players. They are the best team. There's a difference because part of that team is standing on the sideline and they're coaching and calling plays and designing blitzes and doing things of that nature.
So you're saying three-peat.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and throw out my classic line from years ago.
Okay.
I've been analyzing a lot of statistical data over the course of the last, say, 5 days.
Yeah.
And what this data has led me to is I thought, are we talking three-peat? Yes. Then I thought, it's leading me to actually make the claim we're not talking three-peat or even, dare I say, four-peat. We're talking minimum 8-peat.
Minimum 8-peat.
You heard it here first.
Okay.
They're going to be winning Super Bowls when we're in our 60s.
All right.
Yeah. So that's my prediction. All right. So you're going to interview me,
yes,
and make sure you're almost kissing this microphone so we don't miss a beat. Right, you can even pull it up to you if you want.
I'm up on this microphone. Got it on the glasses.
Okay.
All right. So I kind of went through your life as kind of how it's transpired that I'm aware.
Okay.
With just some very simple questions.
Mm-hmm.
High school. What do you recall to be your best day of high school?
Oh my goodness, man.
You have a day that you just think of, senior party, something, anything?
I do. So me in high school, so my early high school years, I was very fat, picked on a little bit, wasn't athletic or any of that kind of stuff.
What are childhood Jim Modes photos?
Oh, for sure.
I think you should post them.
Yeah, for sure.
I like
my mom has them. I'm for sure.
Ask Jan. Jan, I know you're listening.
Of course she is.
Fan. Please post some young, chubby photos of Jim. I never saw that.
So that led me to, I was kind of an entertaining, funny guy and kind of a class clowny type of a guy, and led me into trying to mask some insecurities with drinking and things of that nature. So I was that kid until maybe halfway through my junior year. Then all of a sudden I started getting a little bit better looking and lost a bunch of weight. and started, hey, girls are kind of cool and that kind of stuff. And my senior year was, and I write about this in the first book, was an amazing time of life because I lived like an adult at 16 years old because I was a 16-year-old senior in high school, had my own house in the country, threw parties and did all those crazy things. And the party that I write about in I Asked God to Kill Me was probably my most memorable high school event. And it was one of those 16 candles types of parties with the 5 kegs and somebody fell through the actual ceiling of the house from the roof. And it was that.
And you knew you were going to get it at some point.
Yeah, it was bad.
All right.
It was bad. But so I don't have the, I was the quarterback of the football team and we did this. I was a kind of a degenerate.
Right. But that was the party, would you say, most memorable?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say that. Which, as I reflect upon the answer to that question, is somewhat sad and but also somewhat of a testimony to, man, yeah, people can kind of change their spots.
All right. Now we'll drop to the opposite. So Iowa Western.
Yeah.
Do you have a worse day when you're at the junior college? Is there any moment of something you did that's embarrassing? Were you ever embarrassed beyond your belief? Anything you can think of like that?
No. And it's because it's a very gray time for me. It's hard for me to recall a lot of that stuff, but I do know that I went to a 2-year school for 3 years.
Okay.
I
didn't know you went there 3 years. All right.
Yeah, I did live there for a year, which was an experience in their dorm.
Did you get a 2-year degree before you moved on?
No.
So you did not get the 2-year degree in 3?
No.
Okay.
Then I ended up going. So I did 4 years total of college.
Yep.
0 degrees.
Okay.
3 years at the 2-year school, no 2-year degree.
Yes. So how did you get into your next stop?
Yeah, I don't.
Why would they take you?
I don't know. I have no idea. I had a good ACT.
Okay.
I tested well, and I had C's at Iowa Western, but I just didn't have enough hours because I would sign up and drop, and because I didn't like to go to class. So these weren't bad grades. They were just drops, a lot of stuff. So I didn't accumulate hours. What I did finish, I had like C's in. Yeah, I drop in time. Yeah. And then
you just wouldn't be maintaining a full schedule,
Yeah, exactly. And then I applied and got in and went and lived there for a year.
Anything at University of Iowa, anything there that was just like your best day, greatest day, fun time?
I had no great days there.
None.
I played a lot of Risk, the board game Risk.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of Risk. What else?
How many people play Risk at a time?
Oh, shoot. We'd have half a dozen. And we do it for 12 to 15 hours at a time.
In your dorm or?
Yeah, other people's dorms. Yeah, I would just, would smoke pot every day, pretty much all day. Never went to class there.
Take smoking pot to play a board game for 12
hours. I got one A at the University of Iowa.
And what's the class?
Public speaking.
Public speaking. All right.
So I showed up to class in the first day, and the gal, she's like a TA or something that's running the class, and she's like, okay, you don't have to hand anything in, no outlines, no nothing. Here's the dates that we're going to do these different speeches. You got to give 4 of them, and here's the topics, and there's no physical work that has to be handed in. I thought, I just found my class.
Yeah.
So I didn't even go.
Yeah.
But I knew when my time was coming, I should probably be there. And I would stand up and make my speeches and somehow pulled an A out of this class. And that's the only A I got. And I don't think I ended up getting any other credits there.
All right.
Yeah. So that was I was dead broke. I was bouncing checks to have pizza delivered to my dorm room, and it was just a mess. And
so when you're at Iowa, that's when I met you.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I met you, I think, a couple of times first, but then we went to that Lollapalooza show, and that was like the most hangout time.
Yeah. So that was in or do we want to call it 93? It was 92 or 93, because that's the years I was there. I got there in August of 92 and stayed until May of 93.
Say it's spring of 93.
That seems about right. Yeah. And then you showed up there with a van.
We had like a we rented a 15-passenger van.
And then we drove from Iowa City to Chicago to see a concert.
No, we
No.
went to Wisconsin.
This is how vague. I don't even remember
by
this.
Milwaukee. Is it called Green Valley Amphitheater?
And we saw a show.
We saw Lollapalooza.
Yeah. Who played? Any idea?
Ice Cube.
Yeah. Nothing. I really have no recollection of this. Nothing.
Ministry.
No.
Was on a side stage?
And I was there.
You were, yeah.
Dang, man.
Yeah. You don't, man. Okay.
Yeah.
You remember though the ride over to Chicago?
Yes. Yeah.
You going? I'm driving. Everybody's sleeping. You wake up, come up there, and say, "Hey, man, where are you going?"
Yeah. Because I'm like, this doesn't seem right.
I remember hearing you go back there and waking people up, and you're like, "This guy's going to Chicago."
Because I don't know who you are.
Yeah. He's taking us to Chicago. Says he's going to White Castle.
Yeah, dude.
Designated driver.
So that's, it's, I don't like this about my memory, but I've messed up my mind so much that I have memory problems.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, and hopefully we don't get into these kinds of questions, but I'll throw this out there. So I had overdose problems for a number of years from cocaine and other substances and things that caused me to have seizures, that caused me to have oxygen deprivation that hurt my brain.
Yeah.
And that's a horrible thing to admit, especially on a podcast, but I'm pretty transparent. The fact that you strive so hard to think of things and remember things, and it's just blank, is very, very strange. It's strange. Yes. Yeah.
You remember me calling?
No, that wasn't my first. No, this was happening well before I met you, dude.
Really?
Well, yeah. Yeah. This started when I was probably 18 years old, fresh out of high school, and was starting to get into some really hard drugs, and I was staying up for 2 and 3 days at a time, and just all alcohol and no water, and just, cocaine and methamphetamine.
One that I saw, and
it's very scary.
Trying to stick my fingers in your mouth I thought you were choking to death.
Yeah. So, and we joke, and people tend to joke and stuff about substance stuff, but it's pretty freaking dark, man.
No, dude, I was scared to death. I thought you were dying in the living room.
It's and there's, even when my testimony is I had a real spiritual revelation of Christ, and my life was saved, and I have a different life now, and I love that that's my life. But you don't walk away from all the damage, and you don't walk away from the consequences of that, especially physically. There's physical consequences to people that are choosing to live that life, and they might not experience them, at 20 something, like, who gives an F about what it's going to be like when I'm 53? Well, it would be nice to be able to think. I can think now, and I can create now, and I can communicate fairly effectively now, but to be able to recall things from then, it's like that these things never happened,
right? Which
actually makes me feel a little bit younger, because it seems like my life's only about 20 years.
Yeah.
So that part is maybe a blessing. But yeah, so it's tough. I don't remember that.
You remember Collins Insulation?
Dude, of course.
What was your, like when we worked there, who's your favorite person? I mean, excluding me, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously we went through a whole parade of people.
We did. So when you say favorite, that's an interesting way to put it. Because the most responsible together person that really put up with a lot of our crap was JR. Yeah. And I had
and like such a good dude.
Such a nice guy. And we're degenerates, and he had his stuff together. And so I enjoyed my time with him, but I'll never, ever forget working with your Uncle Pat, who was just amazing. And to me at that point was 70 years old. But as I reflect back, he's probably the age we are now then.
Right. Probably was. He's 70 something now.
Yeah. So exactly. And this was 30 years ago.
So yeah, 1993, 94.
Yeah. So, and this guy freaking put together, and yeah.
He was younger than we are right now.
That's nuts.
If he's 78 now, 30 years ago, yeah, he was 40.
And wow. I don't know how.
He just had a birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Uncle Pat. I don't know how podcast active he might be at this stage of life, but I will say this. I am so grateful that he decided to not deliver me the multiple ass beatings I requested.
You begged for
I begged for them. You know what's always been interesting about me as in my prior life, well, even not so prior life, but I always went begging for ass kickings
Right.
because I think that got me out of a lot of them.
Right.
Because if you're asking for them, people will think twice.
Yeah.
It's my only chance that's why I'm still alive and not totally deformed. But yeah, Uncle Pat, man, that we had the road trip stories from when we were insulating houses and how sucky that work is.
Oh yeah.
Bro, that's tough sledding, man.
Absolutely.
That's tough sledding.
Climbing up into an attic on 100-degree July day.
Yeah.
A house that has like a dark roof.
Yeah.
150 degrees up there, man. That fiberglass just sticks to you.
Yeah.
Crazy, dusty. You remember that house we were at that was like pristine when the hose broke in the middle of it? That guy was the warden at a prison in Lincoln.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Worst
So
we lost the dog.
So it's a high pressure hose that's about this big, and insulation is pumping through it at a rapid rate.
Yep.
And we're blowing it into the attic, and the high pressure hose burst. And the machine is still pumping insulation through it. So now it's filling the home. It looks like a snow globe in there.
And one of the most pristine,
beautiful home
down in like the military area.
Beautiful. Yes. Yeah.
We're down there.
And then we're trying to fix everything. We prop the door open. Out runs the dog.
Yes.
And you know, this freaking dog is their life. You can just tell by the house and everything and how the dog looks. It's their family. It's their life. And there he goes. And I remember, I got very selective memory of this stage in my life. I remember standing there in the street gazing as the dog just got further and further away and running like a freaking greyhound. Had legs this long and I'm like,
yeah. We got this pile of insulation in the middle of this perfect study with all these pictures and award, and there's dust everywhere. What I remember is so obviously we never smoke at customer's house or whatever.
Yeah.
You just sit down in this chair in the middle of this guy's living room, you light one up.
Yep.
Just like there's just stuff everywhere, and then the dog goes out.
Yeah. One of these houses we had a mishap in. I remember going and getting beer out of their fridge.
It might have been.
I was sitting there having a cigarette and a beer in their house.
That might have been the same day.
Yeah. Yes.
Chase the dog. Oh my goodness.
That was miserable, man. Yeah, miserable.
All right, moving on to the auto group.
Okay.
Here, I got a question for auto group.
All right.
Obviously, you started at the bottom.
Yeah. Selling cars.
Went to the ownership.
Yeah.
When was the best time during that for being you? For like I'm just wondering, like, did you have a more pleasurable time when you'd made it to the top and you're like the boss, or was it funner when you were just the dude that comes in there and you didn't care and drinking? I mean, when was your best year for being yourself?
It certainly wasn't in the first 7 years when I was a mess. Yeah, there's fun stories, and that was, the car business was the old West in the mid 90s, and so there's funny stories from that. But
you're living a miserable life.
Miserable.
You have where your
misery, bro.
Story you would share the most possibly come from that time.
Yeah. So I would say that when we started to build the operation that I became a partner because of, so we started to build a finance operation, and it's because the economy was collapsing and the business that we had on 35th and Broadway was going to shut down because we couldn't ours. Banks weren't financing, especially at satellite stores, even if you had dealer group affiliation. So we sat down and strategized, how can we save this business and how can we build our own door in order to have a partnership opportunity? My whole career goal up to that point was I wanted to be the general manager at the Nissan and Kia store.
Okay.
That was what I was working up to, right? Learning all these different things and working up to that.
Small store and
yeah.
Work your way to the,
yes.
The big store.
Yes. And so that was my career path and the goal that I had. And then I remember that position was coming open because the gentleman that had it was moving into an ownership position. So that general manager spot was coming open. There was 3 people that were up for that job. And I was one of those people. And I believed I was the most qualified person. I was by far the youngest person, but I was a go-getter and I was sober at this point. And I was really working hard and qualified and trying to build the right life. I remember I got a call on a Sunday morning. Our then partner, Dennis, who's since passed away, Dennis called me at home on a Sunday, which was a little strange. And he says, hey, I just wanted to let you know this so you hear it from me first, but we went a different direction on the general manager thing.
Dang. All right.
And I thought, and that hurt, but I wasn't, breaking things or anything. And I made a decision then that the next morning I was going to be the first one out to the Nissan and Kia store to shake the gentleman's hand that got that job. His name's Chuck. He's a wonderful guy. He's a pro. He still has that position. He's now become a partner in that group, and he's done an amazing job over the last 20 years. And I remember I was the first one out there to shake his hand, and I spent hours a day for the next few weeks showing him some things about that job that he didn't yet know. Yeah. And I was happy to do it and honored to do it. And it taught me a lot about myself because I could have handled that another way. But instead of getting bitter, we got better. And I knew a door was never going to open for me. Never. I wasn't kind of in the clicky part, and I was a little bit of an outsider, and I was kind of Dennis's guy and not, the other partner's guy. And so we decided, let's present this idea and test it out. And then
did you bring that to Dennis first, or?
So I did. Yeah. And then
him on board first.
Yeah. And he says, I really like this idea. He says, let's go out and I'll introduce you to Dave, and you can present this to him. And
so that time of building that, I guess, from the beginning.
Yes. And that part speaks to me. That part really speaks to me. And I had no net worth, no nothing. I didn't have the ability to go borrow the money I needed or anything. So my partners really helped me out. So the life I lead today, this is very strange that you would ask this, because in my devotional time this morning, it was just on my heart. A lot of stuff about that time was just on my heart, not in a negative way, but I was thinking about the life that I have today. I've got a pretty good life. Yeah. I feel great. I'm blessed to be in really good shape. I've got a nice house. I've got a wonderful family. I've got a little bit of money. Cheap little house. But so I've got a blessed life. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, without that season, I wouldn't have any of it.
Or if you'd have threw a fit.
Or if I quit, I'll go somewhere that appreciates me. No, because longevity means something and loyalty means something. And I say to this day, consistency is my superpower. And it ended up working out. Now, I like to also believe that everything ends badly. Otherwise, it wouldn't end. Yeah. So my marriage ended. Well, how did it end? Well, kind of badly. Otherwise, it wouldn't have ended. My partnership in that auto group ended. Well, how did it end? Go read about it. Yeah. I would say badly, but I also don't harbor a bunch of ill will towards any of the people that I just mentioned, because it brought me to where I am. And I also wouldn't have this life had I not been afforded those opportunities back in that season that you were just asking me about. So it's perspective, dude.
Right. So basically that actually led me to the next part anyway. Obviously it was like 2 years ago last week that you told me that it was probably over, your marriage or all of it.
It was last week. Yeah. It was 2 years ago last week.
We were at the AFC game.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I think the AFC championship game when I
think we got problems here.
Yeah.
So looking back, and obviously people that haven't read the book, ask God to kill me, buy the book.
Yeah.
So there's all in there. I'm going to ask about it though. One piece of it. So you'd mentioned in the book how basically things were getting hostile and stuff at the end of the career at the auto group. Do you wish that you would have backed off some earlier? I know that you're going to stand up for yourself, and you're glad you did that. You're glad that when it came to push come to shove.
Yeah.
But obviously had some different things happen before that. Maybe that wouldn't have happened right then. You know what I'm saying? The confrontation, you're going to do what I say or you're not.
Yeah.
Do you wish that you would have done some things differently before that so that it lasted longer? Or do you wish that you would have just got out sooner and differently, like left instead of waiting for it to be a bomb?
Yeah. So I would say that I knew in August of 2020 that things were going to end sooner than later because of some confrontations that we had within the group. And I, the senior members of that group had some leverage over me legally, and they didn't, they weren't always lording it over me, but at times they did. Yeah. And this season in August of 2020, it was basically, they said, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, or we're going to buy you out and throw you out. And I said, okay, let's do that. Now that bowed them up a little bit, but it also put them in a situation where they're like, look, we realize we don't have things in place to get rid of Jim.
Yeah, we're not ready. ready yet.
So we came to an agreement, and I'm glad we did, because I ramped up things, and I really worked harder than I've worked in years to build up the business, which was in turn building up my buyout number and my net worth and things. So I really ramped it up, and I'm glad that I stayed. But I knew that each week is just another week of, I made it through another week with these guys. And prudently enough, they were trying to put their things in place to, okay, this guy ain't going to be around forever because, I'm different, man.
Yeah.
And I don't get in line.
Yeah.
And I've shared this story a couple times too, but there was a friend of mine that was a higher up in the group, and he would complain about them a lot, as people do, because they're the bosses and stuff. And he would say, man, I just feel stuck sometimes, and I know we all do, and no one's going to do anything about it because we all have this golden handcuff on us. And I looked at that guy, and this is when it snapped in my head, and I was listening to him say these things to me and about me. He believed this about me, like he was saying it about himself as well. You're just like the rest of us, Jim. He says, you talk a big game, but when push comes to shove, you ain't going to do anything about it. And I went, bro, I'll never forget these words. I said, bro, you don't know me too good.
Yeah. So,
and then I turned and walked out of his office.
So do you wish, though, do you think it ended at the time you wanted, or do you wish that you'd have made it last a little longer to get that nut a little higher?
Well,
or do you wish you'd have walked out sooner rather than waiting for that?
Well,
you knew it was coming.
The circumstances were that there were the situation that I was in personally with the divorce and new relationship and things. They viewed this as an opportunity to have me sign away all authority I had. So in other words, even though I built the businesses and have operated them at record profit levels in the last 12 months, I had to sign away that I'm no longer a person of authority, and that this particular son of the senior partners is now my boss, and I answer to him, and I'm just basically a figurehead. And
so do you wish you'd have walked out that day? That's what I'm saying. Do you wish you'd have left earlier?
No. And I tell you, and the answer is I don't do it that way.
Yeah.
I don't do life that way. I think that extending the game can be prudent sometimes, but I also know this, and maybe this is a fault, probably is. I take ownership of why all that happened. I don't blame people. I own it. I own everything that's happened in my life. And I don't regret how any of it happened. The reason that happened is part of the reason I have the person in my life I have now and the family I have now. And I'll tell you this, I don't care what the dollar amount is. I don't care who you are or how much money you have or how tough you are or whatever. If you're going to sit across from me man to man and tell me I'm not going to allow you to do something, it's freaking going to get bad. Right? Yeah. It's going to get bad. What I'm really happy about is that I did not jump across the desk at this person, because I really wanted to do that. Yeah. And in hindsight, I'm super glad that stuff didn't happen, but I'm a man first. Yeah. And maybe that's just, maybe I still have that growing up in the 80s macho type of thing that has been kind of emasculated out of our society now, but I'm not about to get effed with that way. I don't care who do you think you're going to tell me you're not going to allow, I'm getting fired up now. You're going to tell me you're not going to allow me to do something? That's not how this works, man. Right. I know you might have a different last name and a higher position, but you don't get to look me in the face and allow me to do things. We can have a discussion. Right. Hey, would you consider this as an option? Because here's how we feel. But if it's coming down to you do what I say because or else, let's freaking go then. It's just not how I operate. I'd walk out. If they said, I'm not going to allow you to do this, but here's $1 million, I would hate myself for it afterwards, but I still would have put my middle finger up and said, see you later. Yep. Because that's how I operate.
So same exact question really for your marriage. Do you wish you'd have done things different at the end or got out of that sooner?
So I won't really unpack that for a couple of reasons. I'm not trying to avoid the question, but the one thing I'm never going to do is I'm not going to, I don't like to do that, but I'm also not going to disparage my ex-wife. Oh. And would I have done anything? The answer is 100% yes, because any divorced person, when asked that question, if they say, I wouldn't have done anything different, the idea is to save marriage, and it's a covenant. And the thing about divorce that tore me up the most is I feel, and I beat myself up about this, and I've been honest about this too, I broke my word to God. That weighs on me. And a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's just you say these vows and it's whatever. And, people get divorced, and that weighs on me heavy. And I've asked for forgiveness, and I believe received forgiveness for that. Would I've done things differently? Yeah, because you know what? I was the leader of a family. I was the man in a marriage who's charged with directing, protecting, providing for another person and a family. And if that goes bad, you don't look at your wife, your ex-wife, and place blame. You look in the mirror and you say, I was the man in this situation and I failed this. And what can I learn from this moving forward? And how can I be better the next time that I enter into this? And I'm going to get married again pretty soon. And I'm going to be a better man for it. But no, the answer is it's my responsibility. I failed at it. You take the failure, you learn from it, you kind of watch the game film, so to speak. And then the next time you're out on the field, you try to be better. And that's what I'm trying to do.
All right. Now, funner for now. Yeah. When you started the Ministry of Freedom,
yeah,
how much had your plan really, is this what you envisioned? I mean, is this the books, like when you first decided, when you're first walking and you're thinking about, I'm going to start a podcast. I mean, was there books in your mind at that point? Was the Building and Becoming, like, was that, I mean, how old was that? I mean,
yeah.
How was your plan going from 2 years ago to when you started this?
It's, there's nothing that's how I thought it would be.
Okay.
Zero, except the logo.
Okay.
So the logo, and the reason is it's because I didn't know who, I didn't know, bro, I wasn't sure who I was.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I want to put out there and what my mission is going to be and any of that stuff, because I didn't even know who I was. And I know that I wanted to do a podcast because I was a podcast fan, but it didn't have a lot of direction for a long time because I didn't know what I wanted to do and what my purpose was. And really through this last couple of years have figured out my purpose is I want to help people find Christ and health and fitness. That's what I'm passionate about. I think a life is more fulfilled when you have a faith in Christ and when you can freaking look at yourself with confidence and your health is good. I heard this the other day during the RFK Senate stuff, and I love this line. He said, healthy people have 1,000 dreams. Sick people have one.
Right. That's pretty deep. I didn't hear that.
And so I think one of my purposes is to take my life experience, which we've touched on a lot of them, and some of them are pretty freaking dark, and a guy that's probably made more mistakes than the average dude.
Yep.
The thing about me is I do believe I've made way more mistakes than the average guy. I also know I've had way more successes than the average guy. And so I think that wealth of experience is valuable. And I also believe that people feel alone. And at this age that you and I are, this age range in our 50s, I see a lot of people have given up. And, my time's passed. I can't get healthy. It's too late to get in shape. And I want to speak to those types of people and say, let's just start living now and let's attack life. And I think I have a purpose and I know it's fun to do. Did I envision writing a book? I always knew I would write a book. I didn't know it would be those two books. I certainly didn't know it would be the first one. Because the first one is a tough read for me. And I don't sit and read my own books. But the first book is difficult. The first book, it's entertaining for me to read the first book because it feels like it's written by somebody else and I just bought it on Amazon because I'm not the dude that wrote it anymore. So that's crazy to me. But it's who I was then and it's honest and I needed it. And it's the best therapy I've gotten is writing that book.
Tell me about the Building and Becoming. How's that? Obviously, we talk about that at the start of the show.
Yeah.
But obviously, people that watch the podcast maybe don't even know what you're talking about.
The Building and Becoming is the thing that I think I'm not think. It's definitely the thing I'm most passionate about since trying to build a business 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I see people coming together and strangers that don't know each other and able to get together electronically. So we do Zoom meetings. I also have built different courses in there. So I spend most of my days now. So I have prayer time, I lift weights, and I write and record, and I research. So we have an endless array at this point of course material that's continually being added. So we have sales and entrepreneurship, a mindset course, and there's different modules within each course. So people can go click on, some of them are 20 minutes long, some are 6 minutes long. We have one on fitness. There's actual workout programs that Allie designed with videos. So each exercise has a demonstration video. Meal plans. There is, like I said, sales, mindset, entrepreneurship, fitness, a faith module. So we talk about, people, the building and becoming is, here's where I got the name. I believe that it's important for people to be building a foundational faith in Christ while becoming strong, fit, and capable in all areas. So everything that we are about is helping equip people to do those things.
So like basically it's on where do you find
It's online. So it's on a format called School, SKOOL. So if anyone goes to School, you'll click on it, you type in building and becoming, it'll take you to our community. It's everywhere. Yeah. So you can't follow my stuff and not see stuff building and becoming.
So find your social media.
And it's and here's the deal. So it's not a high ticket coaching thing. And it's, but what it is, I offer a 7-day free trial. So people can go in, they could consume all the material that they can get in a week and attend a couple Zoom calls. I did a great training last night. We do a Bible study and fellowship Zoom at least once a week. And then whatever other kind of Zooms and communications want to pop up. There's a daily devotional that I write every single morning and post. So every morning people can go on there by 6 a.m. and there's a fresh devotional for them in case that's important in their lives. Some people want that in the morning. They don't know where to go get it. I provide that. And in that week, they can consume a ton of stuff. And at the end of that, if they want to bail, they can bail. If they'd like to stay beyond that, and most people do, it's $99 a month with no contract. And I can tell you that for a latte a day, that freaking daily devotional is worth $3. Yeah. And so it's been fairly successful at this point. When I say successful, I mean the testimonies that we've gotten from the people that are in the group. We got several people that have lost significant weight, that are on fitness programs, people that didn't know the Lord that are like, wow, this is great. And I've never opened the Bible before. And thank you for showing me this. And these devotionals have changed in my life. I had a guy that's in the group that called me the other day that I don't really hear from that much on a personal level, that was just going through some stuff, trying to get this last business licensing thing hooked up. And it's just on my heart. I said, hey, how about I pray for you, bro? And he's like, okay. So that might be a weird perk of being in a group, but if you reach out to me and I'm going to pray for you. This guy calls me yesterday and he's like, I can't believe what happened after that. It's the weirdest thing that I've ever experienced in my life. This happened. I found this part I needed. This happened. The timing was perfect. We had a couple things that didn't line up for the inspector, but he said, what the heck? Let's just sign off on it anyway. That shouldn't have never happened. And I'm able to actually see the impact that community can have on people's lives in real time. So it's the coolest thing I've ever done. And this is everything that's gotten us to here has led to this. And we've been at it 2 months. Yep. And that's what Allie and I do with our time.
Okay. Final question.
Go.
Do you have a long-term plan, a 5-year plan? Where are you trying to steer? More books, more podcasts? What's where are you trying to expand to next?
So my 5-year plan, and that's an interesting one. I think people should be prudent and look out for those types of things. I think it's important. My 5-year plan is essentially to stay on the path and bring other people onto the road. And obviously, I want to get better every day. So my 5-year plan is improving 1% a day for the next 5 years. That would be my number one thing in my 5-year plan. I want to become more fit, more strong, more capable. I want to build wealth. I want to grow, building and becoming. I am going to write another book or two. The next book that's in the works is a devotional that's tied into the whole building and becoming vibe that I'm hoping to get out in December. So that would be the third book. And then just continue with putting good, encouraging content out that people can resonate with, and be a person and have a ministry, for lack of a better word, that lines up with some of the people that have had that impact in my life. There's certain books that I've come across or certain podcasts that I still listen to that have impacted me greatly. And I want to use my voice to help people know Jesus and get fit.
So that's the long-term plan. Short-term, I know you've been visiting some other people's podcast shows.
Yeah.
You have anything lined up now?
So no, not at the moment. I still, I'm reluctant at this point to leave because I got so much of this stuff going on. But I need to, if I want to be on Anderson's show on Endless Endeavor, I need to make plans and get out of town for several days and go out to Seattle. And I'm excited to do that. It's my favorite podcast. I haven't put in that. I haven't taken the step to put those, to buy the tickets and to do what needs to happen and coordinate with him to get that done. And
I'm going to push you today to get that done.
I probably need to. I probably need to get that done.
But
yeah.
In future guests, you got anybody coming up on the show? That's do you have a dream guest? Anybody you?
No.
All right.
I'll be honest with you. Yeah, the podcast to me. And I certainly appreciate the viewership and it's fun to do and I enjoy it. But the podcast to me is just a way for me to talk to people and for me to kind of do some trainings once in a while or let people know who I am and communicate to a broader audience. My future I don't want to be a podcaster. Okay. If I'm being honest with you, I want to be, and I don't even like the term coach. I want to be somebody that has a heart and capability to mentor other people to have better lives. That's what I want to be for people. And quite honestly, I want to be a legacy builder. I want to build my own legacy and I want to help other people do that as well. So what does that mean? It means that when we're done, a week after your funeral, man, people are going to, what's going to happen? They're going to go to work, aren't they? Yeah. And they're going to be in traffic and they're going to be paying their bills and they're going to be doing their stuff. And on certain days, they're going to remember. Yeah. But what's it really matter? Yeah. People aren't really going to remember too darn much about you, but they'll remember if you've helped them and how you made them feel. I remember looking, Jim did this and he set this up and he helped me lose this weight or this, and he helped me find the Lord or get sober or whatever it might be. I think that we should be doing things with our time and our resources that build our legacies.
Before we wrap up, you got a Bible verse written down over there?
Yeah. You want to hear it?
I think probably better.
Yeah. I was hoping we can't close out without that, right?
It is, yep.
This one's, I hate to say my favorite verse because I got a lot of favorite verses, but this one's been coming up a lot. It's been coming up in Allie's devotional time too. And Allie's doing 75 hard. Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
Just freaking killer. On like day 6 and just an animal.
All right.
So
hopefully this animal does not rip your throat out at some point.
Man, just keeping low key. So because I'm real quick to be, hey, did you get your picture done? Did you
Yeah. By day 32, that will possibly get you punched.
Oh, for sure. 2 Timothy 1:7, and I have this tattooed on my leg I've had for years. God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. My favorite part of the scripture is the spirit. The word spirit in that scripture has a capital S, means that the Holy Spirit gives us power, love, and self-discipline. So you talk about 3 things you need to be functioning in life at a super high level. You better have power. And I'm not just talking about you can move more weight, but you need to have a power. You better know how to love. And that's not the emotion. I'm talking about the verb because that's freaking difficult, right? And you better have self-discipline because without discipline, man, what do you got? Yeah. What kind of life do you have? Dude, your life's a freaking mess. It's no good. I actually had other stuff that I wanted to get to. So we're not going to do that today. So you're going to come back and we're going to do that.
All right.
Trying to think if there's anything that I need to ask you. This was fun because I didn't know any of those questions before you showed up with your fancy laptop and dumped them on me. But yeah, I hope I was honest enough.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't try to hold anything back.
Yeah, just like I say, just something we haven't done. Just kind of obviously people getting to know you, but
yeah. And here's another thing that's cool. So the viewership has gone up on the podcast. The subscribers are kind of accumulating and it takes time to get that momentum. It feels like we're getting that momentum. So there are
1,000.
Yeah, we did break 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. Yeah. So we got to keep that rolling. But I will say that there's constantly with each episode, brand new people jumping on. So if people were to go back to episode 1 and first off, see me, I'm going to look a little different. And if they listen to me, I'm certainly going to sound a little different. And my attitude and mentality on things is going to be different. So if you want to start at episode 1, by all means, go watch them all. But you know what? Jump in 6 months ago. jump in on episode freaking 40 and come along for the ride, because we're past all of the trauma and we're working more towards building and becoming. So that's kind of what we're doing. I appreciate you, dude. That was cool. You know what we're going to do now? I'm going to hit stop, and we're going to go on and record something that's just for the building and becoming people, because they get behind the scenes things we call overtimes. So they get to hear stuff you don't get to hear.
Day. How much is that free trial?
It's free.
It's free.
That's thus the name. Yeah, come on, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you, Michael.